Life has a strange way of reshaping itself in the blink of an eye, as though time itself bends to reveal truths we were never prepared to face. For Anna, the truth came swaddled in two blankets, not one, with two sets of tiny lungs crying out to the world at once. It was the day she thought she had prepared for, the day she believed would deliver the child she had longed for, the child who would make her family feel complete. Yet in the rush of lights, whispers, and hurried footsteps across the maternity ward, her story became something entirely different, an unexpected turn that forced her to confront not only the weight of motherhood, but also the fragility of a marriage that had been crumbling in silence. Anna had spent 9 months building dreams around a single heartbeat. From the moment the first grainy ultrasound appeared on the screen, she imagined one small hand gripping her finger, one face pressed against her chest, one voice crying for comfort in the dark. The doctor had confirmed the pregnancy in the usual way. Nothing extraordinary, nothing unusual. The appointments had rolled by with calm regularity. One baby, strong and healthy. She had pictured the nursery painted in soft tones of lavender and cream, the crib placed beneath the window where the morning light poured in. Every object, every detail spoke to the idea of one child, the center of her world. But life, as she was about to learn, has a way of humbling the heart when it grows too certain of its script. The labor began at dawn, sudden and unrelenting. Her husband Daniel was at her side, though his presence felt more like an obligation than devotion. They had grown apart over the past year, their conversations punctuated by sighs instead of laughter, their nights filled with distance instead of closeness. The pregnancy, in many ways, had been a silent attempt at reconciliation, a hope that perhaps the arrival of a child might weave together what had begun to unravel. Yet Anna had no illusions. A baby could not fix what was broken, though it might soften the edges of their disagreements, might give them something to cling to when words failed. The delivery room was a blur of motion. Nurses moved with swift efficiency, voices rising and falling like waves around her. The pain was overwhelming, stretching her to the edge of endurance, but at last the cry came, the unmistakable sound of new life. Anna's heart expanded with relief. Through her exhaustion, she caught a glimpse of the tiny form lifted into the world, wrapped in soft cloth, placed briefly upon her chest. Her tears came without restraint, the overwhelming rush of joy mingled with disbelief that this moment was finally hers. But then, something shifted. The air in the room grew tense again, the calm that usually followed a birth suddenly replaced with renewed urgency. Anna's body shuddered, her instincts screaming that something was not finished. The doctor's voice reached her through the fog. "There's another." For a heartbeat, Anna thought she had misheard. Another what? Another moment? Another complication? Her confusion dissolved only when she felt the contractions surge again, when the nurses leaned in, preparing, guiding, urging her to push once more. And then, impossibly, there was another cry, just as sharp and insistent as the first. Two cries now, overlapping, filling the room with a sound so unexpected that Anna could do nothing but stare, wide-eyed, at the tiny miracles being held aloft. Two, not one. Two. In that instant, her world tilted on its axis. She had entered the hospital believing she would leave with one child in her arms, but now there were two, as though life itself had conspired to multiply her destiny. The initial shock gave way to awe, and awe quickly spiraled into fear. Two mouths to feed, two bodies to nurture, two souls dependent on her for survival. Her mind raced through endless calculations. How would they manage, financially, emotionally, practically? She looked at Daniel, whose face reflected a confusion equal to her own. For months, he had been distant, detached, his love worn thin by arguments and unspoken resentment. Would this double burden push him further away, or bring him back into the fold of family they had once dreamed of together? The hours that followed were a blur of introductions, whispered reassurances, and the tender chaos of first moments. Nurses placed the babies into her arms. 2 girls, identical in their fragility, yet distinct in subtle ways that only a mother's eye could begin to notice. Anna traced the curve of their cheeks, the softness of their hair, and in those delicate features she felt both the crushing weight of responsibility and the boundless miracle of life. And then something unexpected happened. She noticed Daniel, truly noticed him. For the first time in months, his eyes were not glazed with indifference or shadowed by resentment. Instead, they were alive with wonder. He held one of the babies with a trembling reverence, as though the tiny body might dissolve in his hands. The walls of distance between them cracked, just slightly, as he whispered words Anna had not heard in so long. "We're parents. Together." It was not a declaration, nor a promise, but a confession, a recognition that something greater than their failures had arrived to bind them again. Over the next days, as they navigated sleepless nights and endless feedings, Anna found herself observing Daniel with a mixture of caution and curiosity. The man who had once retreated into silence was now present in ways she had thought impossible. He rose at midnight to soothe one baby while she cradled the other. He fumbled with bottles and diapers, his clumsiness softened by determination. The bitterness that had haunted their marriage seemed to ebb, replaced by a fragile alliance built around the twins. Anna realized, slowly, that the second baby, the one she had not expected, the one who had arrived as a surprise, was the missing piece not just in her life, but in their relationship. Without her, perhaps Daniel would have remained a distant father, their home divided by quiet resentments. But with 2 daughters, the responsibilities doubled, and so too did the opportunities for connection. There was no room for distance anymore, no time for cold silences. Every cry, every feeding, every moment of exhaustion demanded their cooperation, their presence. In the chaos of caring for 2 newborns, Daniel and Anna found themselves side by side once more, not out of obligation, but out of necessity. And within that necessity, they rediscovered fragments of love. Anna often thought back to the moment in the delivery room when she first heard the second cry. At the time, it had felt like the weight of the world crashing upon her shoulders, the doubling of every fear she had carried for months. But now, as she watched Daniel asleep on the couch, a baby nestled against his chest, she understood that life's surprises are not always punishments. Sometimes they are gifts disguised as burdens, blessings hidden within the folds of chaos. The journey ahead would not be easy. Raising 2 children was no small task, and their marriage was far from healed. There would be arguments, setbacks, days of exhaustion so deep it threatened to undo them again. But there was also a sense of purpose now, a reason to fight for each other rather than against each other. The babies, in their innocence, had given them something neither had found in years: hope. And so, Anna embraced the new rhythm of her life, no longer defined by the certainty of one, but by the miracle of 2. She knew that in an instant, everything could change again. Such was the nature of life. But for now, she held her daughters close, listened to the soft cadence of their breathing, and allowed herself to believe that perhaps, just perhaps, this unexpected twist had saved more than just her marriage. It had saved her faith in love itself.